Hi, I'm Jude Matulich-Hall, and this is Titles, Talk, and Tipples. What do sharks, baseball, and theater have in common? Gary Morgenstein, folks, who's with me today. I'm so happy to have you on the show, Gary.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
He is the writer of the Dark Depths series, a baseball sci-fi series, as well as a playwright for theaters, The Black and White Cookie, and the director of public relations for the first 4 Sharknado movies.
Yes.
Great to have you. I'm going to put this over here.
All right. You look very natural in it.
Oh, thanks. I was like, can I get that right?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Yeah.
All right. So you're talking to me from New York. Is that right?
From Brooklyn, the center of the known universe. Yes, indeed.
All right. And I want you to, you go ahead and tell the folks what we're drinking tonight.
Well, I'm drinking a South African wine, a blend of Cabernet and Merlot. Red wine's delicious. I only drink red wine.
I only drink wine.
Yeah, wine, yes. Red wine, yes.
I'm drinking a blend too. It's a Shiraz Cabernet Sauvignon from California. So,
yes.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers, indeed. Cheers. Cheers, thing. Yes. Cheers. I know. Then you get your guests a little tipsy, and then God knows what we're going to say. Yes.
You know, Titles, Talk, and Tipples, and that's kind of the fun of it. Of like, dropping the boundaries. It's time, right, to drop those boundaries, and if a little bit of sipping helps that along,
it always
I'm
does.
all for it.
Always does. Yes, I love it.
So we're going to talk about your novels. You're going to teach me about baseball sci-fi.
Yes.
Sci-fi baseball, whichever way you say it.
Yes.
And I'm really excited about your plays. You already have one coming out, The Black and White Cookie.
Yes, The Black and White Cookie was scheduled to premiere last March in Manhattan. And, man plans, God laughs. And so a week before premiere, we were postponed, canceled. Yeah. So back in last November, I decided, well, look, this is ridiculous. I've got to get it out and start Zooming it. And yes. And so what I did do is I looked at the script. And the script, if I could just give a quick log line.
Yeah, please do.
It's a play about people coming together. Mm-hmm. About there's more that unites us than divides us, which is so in the screaming of our society now, it's so easy to forget that when you try to find reasons not to like someone, right? Because they check the boxes. And in the play, a senior, a gruff conservative African-American, Harold Wilson, finally reopens his East Village newsstand after being shut down by COVID, only to get hit with an exorbitant rent increase, which he can't afford. And now he has to close and retire to Florida with his niece. However, a longtime customer, Albie Sands, who's a very eccentric 1960s style Jewish communist, tries to persuade Harold to fight back. So it's about them forming an unlikely friendship because they're very different, and they take on corporate greed and prejudice. And what I did is when I said, okay, we're going to zoom it out now. And start, and we had this past year, we had 5 Zoom productions from England to Los Angeles with theater companies. Okay. But I looked at the play again, and I said, well, I have to layer in the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because, for example, there's one scene in an alley where one of the characters is sick. Now, I couldn't have that go up, and people would say, how can you not mention COVID?
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. So I without changing the story, I layered it in, accounted for what had just happened, and it in ways it deepened the characters, which is interesting, and the relationships. And so now finally, October 1st through 3rd, we have our world premiere at the award-winning Silver Spring Stage in Maryland, just outside Washington, D.C. And we're kicking off the 54th season, and we're gonna, it's Wild Wild West. We hope people come. they've got to be masked and vaccinated. Of course, the actors don't have to be masked. Everyone has to, have had their shots.
Yeah.
And theater's back, and there's going to be nothing. It's, it's exciting.
I mean, that just warms my heart so much, because since the beginning, I don't get paid for music, but I do play a violin in an orchestra. And, and just us being shut down, it really dawned on me how much performers were just hit so hard. Yeah. Theater, whether it's music or theater, it's been so detrimental for everyone. And it's been hard on everybody, but particularly the people that just haven't been able to work at all. And that's, I was able to move my job home. And do it over Zoom, but not everybody can do that. It's interesting to see that, though, that you guys kind of figured some of it out. You did some of it over Zoom. So
but it's still not the same.
No, of course not. Oh my gosh.
Although it was, but what was nice is, if there's a silver lining, and I really hesitate to even use that word, but the way people, we were just talking before we went on, the indomitable human spirit. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And so we found a way. So what Zoom did, and Zoom performance did, is it united people over the world.
Yeah.
Think about it. I mean, you met people you never would have met.
Yeah. Would we have ever sat down and talked? I mean, probably not, Right. You're in New York. I'm in Oregon.
Yes.
So
it's something wonderful about that people coming together, and that human spirit, it's to be celebrated, because it's, you think about World War II and London being pounded by the Luftwaffe. And originally the British government in 1940 had closed the theaters, and the British, they have the soul of theater, and right. I mean, they have it in their hearts. They know it's like no one else, and they insisted, no, you have to open the theater. And so plays would go on in the West End and throughout London. And when there would be an air raid, someone would either make an announcement from the stage or a signal with a light and say, please, you have to go down to the basement. And most of the time, most of the audience stayed. Please carry on. And that's,
oh my gosh,
that's what people do. And you have to find ways. And I think Zoom was one of those ways, so we could all keep talking and keep entertaining and meeting and making new friends. It's wonderful. It was great.
Yeah.
Now it's time to,
right. It's time to get back out there, get your masks on, get your vaccine.
Well, yeah, but this is interesting. Something else, I was just talking to a friend of mine who's, they're going to be at the play. They live in Maryland, near Washington. But anyway, he said, okay, can we sit next to you? I said, first of all, no.
Yeah.
You do not want me doing this, staring at you to see how you're reacting, because you're going to really enjoy the play, aren't you? And I'm going to have a lot of fun. No, I go sit in the corner. But I said, but with your mask, I suddenly thought, how am I going to know if people are smiling?
Yeah. Well, their eyes, you'll see the.
But that's, and will the laughter be muffled? It's just silly things. I don't know. So then, of course, as a neurotic playwright, I'll think, that sucks. No one likes it. No, of course, that's, your first. As writers, we know that. Yeah. Oh, it's terrible. Where's the match? Let me burn it all, right? But it's an interesting, but people will be there and we united. And I think that's very important.
That'll be.
And also what I also wanted to do was explore what happens when good people are prejudiced. And that's what I do in the play, because as far as I use modern anti-Semitism as a window. It's the most ancient of diseases, but it gets through to the whole concept of prejudice, because I don't worry about the extremists from either end. I'm sorry, I don't. Yeah. I worry about the decent people who look away from hate.
Yeah.
Right?
The silent ones, the ones that hide and they're the well, and I think they can also be the dangerous ones.
Yes. Yeah. I think we need to show that that's not good. That good people, we need to see what that's like. Because, someone comes on stage or in a movie and they're wearing a swastika or a white sheet and hood. Really, what's their arc? I mean,
right. Yeah. They're trying to shock and more that often than not, someone that is open about their prejudice are going to get bombarded these days, at least, at least people are starting to, they're going to get their butts kicked.
Yes, good.
And, and so it's it's the quiet hidden ones that are just prejudiced at home, or they behave around people, but, teach their kids how to be ugly and just, that inadvertent, well, like we were talking about, just inadvertently being impolite to people, tearing down people's spirits little by little. I mean, there's a big danger in that too.
I think COVID is kind of, in a way, people feel it gave them permission to be rude.
Right? That's what it feels like. It's like, what is going on? It's almost like people just think it's okay.
Yeah.
I think that's part of, I have a little bit of a theory about that. And it's a little bit political, but and I know it's happening in other countries too. But it just seems so huge here in America. I really think that there are a huge amount of Americans that think because they're American, they can act any way they want. It's like, that's not what freedom is, folks. I mean, it is, but at the same, it's like, but you mess up other people's freedoms when you're being a jerk.
Yes.
So,
it's the respect.
Yeah.
It's, it used to be, I mean, you go back, not that long ago, but you go back and there was a center of what it meant to be an American. That isn't to say gloss over that there were many, many problems, but we could all come together.
Right. Yeah.
And agree on that. We can't anymore.
No, it's
close to that.
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
It is.
Because once you can no longer agree on what your country means, someone else is going to define it for you, and that's very scary.
Yeah,
so
which is kind of happening. I mean, it's a little bit, and it is when the government is starting to have to make decisions for people to do what is right. Yeah. And of course, like anybody that has half a mind that doesn't 100% trust the American government, it's like, okay, I got the vaccine, but I hate politicians, and the politicians are starting to make decisions for that, and I don't like that, So it's like that's my view, and but of course, there's you can magnify that view from others that it's uncomfortable. Do what's right, and the government doesn't have to make those decisions for you.
Well, yes.
But it's not the attitude that people are having. Some people are having.
Yes. Yeah. You go back to the 1960s, and again, there were enormous problems in the country, of course. But there was a sense of America being that shining city on the hill, that America had the can-do spirit. The great, John Kennedy asking ask not what your country can do for your country. Let's put a man on the moon, and we did. Mm-hmm. Lyndon Johnson with the Great Society, and the centerpiece of the Great Society was eliminating poverty and ending racial injustice. Well, we didn't succeed, to say the least. Right. But the fact that we thought we could, that we passed legislation thinking we're Americans, we can do that. We can go to Vietnam and stop the communists. I'm not debating the merits of the war, but I'm saying we felt that was our ability to change that. That, Lyndon Johnson thought if he just sat Ho Chi Minh down in the room and negotiated, he could end the war. It was that American attitude, which I think is good and bad, because it's
horrendous. Yeah.
It could be arrogant, but it does beget, advances. Mm-hmm. It does put Neil Armstrong on the moon, and so it does do that. But we no longer feel that. Right. And I don't know. I don't think we can solve this in an hour.
No, we can't. But you're putting it out there with your play, and that's very lovely. And so, will there be a way for me to watch it? Since I won't. It is
going to be. They're going to record the production.
Great.
So it will be on YouTube. I will certainly send you a link.
Wonderful. I look forward to it.
Yes, I do too. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I saw the rehearsal photos and everyone in the theater and with the props. It's like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't been on, I haven't been acted forever. I did some theater in high school, and that was the extent of it. But I have been on stage with music, and
yes.
But it's just a lovely feeling. Oh no, that's not true. I did a little bit of theater in college, but I had more fun creating props and like painting the backgrounds and stuff. But I did little bit parts, like did some ghost singing in the background for a spooky scene and one thing, and yeah. That was
well, I don't know how actors do it, because first of all, I could never memorize lines.
Oh gosh, no.
I don't know how they do it, and to get up in front of the audience, it's one thing for me to make, for you and I to make stuff up.
Sure.
And to write. I mean, but no one is sitting watching us. Right?
No. Yeah. It's like, what are you going to have that person do next? And be like,
right, exactly. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Talking about freaking out. No, we're not. But the actors, and the audience is judging them.
Yeah. And unlike television or movies, there's no editing. So
live. Yeah. Yes. I'm glad I'm behind the scenes too. Yeah.
Yeah. That's gutsy.
Yeah.
And so you have a second play that's also coming out later next year in February.
Yes. A Tomato Can't Grow in the Bronx, which is set in 1968 about a Bronx family who wants to leave the tenement and get the American dream of buying a house in the suburbs. So it's about a dysfunctional family. I know that's probably redundant, but
it works.
Yes,
because it's real.
Because almost everyone's family is redundant, is dysfunctional in some way.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
I don't want to. Some people say, "Oh, I had a happy childhood." I said, "Go away. I don't want to."
Yeah. I can't connect.
No, I can't. Can't begin to understand you at all. No. So that's going to be exciting. That'll be at the Center Players in Freehold, New Jersey. So, as things open up, you reach people. It's theater, the magic of theater, again, because we both write novels. But with theater, you have that instantaneous feedback, good and bad.
Yeah.
Right. You touch, they're there, like you said, live, and there's something very magical about that, to have someone listening intently. When my first play was produced years ago, I was like, in the first act, I was, oh my God, it's so quiet. And a friend said, no, they're listening, you idiot.
Yeah, that's a good sign, right? There's no whispering or.
No, they're paying attention.
Oh, that's
want
great.
them to pay attention. But, you just want the noise on the left. No, you don't want them shuffling their feet or just,
sure.
Falling
asleep and snoring. That's a really bad sign.
Snoring bad. So there's something that's great. Yeah. I love that. But with books, it's, as you know, it's always it's exciting to have a reader, tell you what they thought, but you don't know it on the spot.
Sure, it takes time, and especially like if you're not doing it yourself and having hands on the whole entire time, and you're waiting for an editor, and you're waiting for the publisher, and you're waiting for all that good stuff. I mean, my novel, from the time it got picked up to the time it's going out in a couple weeks.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's exciting.
It's a whole year from the time it got picked up. So, it's hard to keep momentum, but the momentum is starting another novel.
Yes.
Yeah. Which you have written quite a number of titles. 6, yeah. And so, and we're going to be talking about the Dark Depth series. And series is a wonderful little name for it because it has to do with baseball. Yeah. And so tell me all about sci-fi baseball novels.
Well, it's kind of unusual because most people don't think that baseball will make it into the future. When you see that, baseball has enough problems with it, that might be smart thinking. Given all the the issues that baseball currently has, but most people, when they think of the future and sports, it's like rollerball.
Sure.
It's that sort of death race or something.
Something
weird,
like
right, yes, something really violent.
Weird cars standing on platforms that hover and throwing lights at each other.
Exactly. That's the future of sports. So they don't think about baseball. So in the first two books of the trilogy have been published. The first was A Mound Over Hell, and most recently A Fastball for Freedom. And it begins in 2098 after America and the West has lost World War III to the Islamic Empire. And I chose the Islamic Empire because I thought, okay, I wanted to show America a failed America. Mm-hmm. I wanted to project ahead 80 years or so. And so what would have happened to cause that? And I don't want to do, environmental or, it's all been done. You're right. Exactly. Enough already. So, and I thought, okay, we lose a world war, which, was a big deal, obviously.
Yeah, that would be.
That would be kind of huge. Yes. Yeah. So who do we lose it to? If I thought Russia, that's boring. That's the Cold War. That's Red Dawn. China is probably more likely, but that's boring. That's really boring, right? That's like not. But Islam is the third rail between, Islam and the West. I mean, there is a significant clash, which has been going back for a long time. The very first war that America ever fought was against the Barbary pirates. Yeah. And that's where, under Thomas Jefferson, that was that's where the song from the halls of Montezuma comes from. Was inspired by that. So I thought, okay, we lose that. So in the novel, America is surrounded. We've lost, and democracy is gone. All our isms are gone. We have failed. We're run by this entity called the family, led by grandma, a 92-year-old, and there's no voting. There's cousins, and there's things. For example, we could not be doing this because social media has been banned under the anti-narcissism laws. And the society is based on love and family and friendship. What a notion, right? That's doesn't matter what you are. Yeah, it's who you are. Well, there's it's a benevolent, not totalitarianism. It's a consensus that the bickering doesn't work. But the belief is that you only have real relationships, and social media are not real relationships. Right. The followers on Facebook are not all your friends. I know, I don't want them to start, crying about what I'm, this great revelation, but that's the truth. So there's things like that. All patriotism are banned because that's associated with the old America, the America we were talking about, the hubris of America, which led us into a war we couldn't win. So on and on. There's the entertainment industry. The banks are banned under the anti-parasite laws. So it's a different world. And baseball associated with that old America has been discredited. And as the 2098 season begins, there's one ballpark left, Amazon Stadium, formerly known as Yankee Stadium. Mm-hmm. And there's the attendance average is like 15 a game, and holograms run the bases because the ball players are not in good shape because no one cares. Oh. And then, magically, Mickey Mantle arrives. Mm-hmm. And then magically Ty Cobb arrives. And then from the past of the book, from the 2050s to 2060s, one of the greatest players of all time, Mushi Lopez, a woman, arrives. She holds all these records, and they together start to bring baseball back. But baseball becomes a pawn between those who want peace, because grandma wants to reach out to the dissidents in the Islamic Empire who also don't want to live under tyranny. Mm-hmm. And they want a real peace, and opposed to those on both sides who want another war to settle it once and for all. So there's a theme. I mean, one of I guess always as you know, the biggest thing about a novel is not necessarily the plot, but the characters.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Right. They're going to drive your story, and it's the characters that your readers are going to remember.
Yeah, people have to like the characters or hate them, Yes. They can't be drab, and they have to be real. Feel real.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's, there's a lot of characters. Yeah. People say, wow, there's a lot of characters. So, well, welcome to the insanity known as creativity.
Right. The fantasy novel, right?
Right. A lot of people running around. You know what it's like. I don't.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know people that will not read fantasy or sci-fi because of all the characters. They're like, I can't keep up.
And it's a challenge.
Yeah.
Well, but don't you agree if you're a writer, you have to challenge your readers?
Oh, absolutely. I like to challenge my readers. I want my readers to think. I like to have to think while I'm reading. I like to be challenged.
Yes.
I mean, and there is a fine line. We don't want it to be confusing, but we definitely want our readers to have to think and figure things out. And
yes.
And we want to work our brains too. I mean, with all this social media, it's really easy to just let those brain cells just become yogurt.
And let people think for us and tell us what to do.
Yeah.
And that we can't do that. I mean, as artists, we have to be the ones with the ideas. Sometimes they're going to be unpopular.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're going to, alienate people. As long as you respect, as long as you do it with respect.
Yes.
But we have to have a point of view. We can't have, as you say, yogurt ideas.
Right.
Right? It doesn't work. We've got to be out there in the forefront. So, so there is, my novels are long, but they challenge. So, each one was like 500 pages. And I'm working on the third one now, and it'll end when it'll end.
Yeah. So that's what is that? 100? That's over 100,000. So what is it? 250 words per page. So how many words was that? I'm trying to do the math.
Couple hundred.
100,000.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's a lot of words.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
Especially when the average novel is 80,000 words. 60 to 80. That's it. 60 to 80,000 words. A lot of publishers, and this is just my understanding of it. I could be wrong, but over 100,000. A lot of publishers won't take work over 100,000, so it kind of has to be between 60 and 90,000. So that makes the average about 75,000, actually. So when you're talking a couple 100,000 word novel, so I'm curious, how long did that take you to write that?
A couple years.
Yeah.
A couple years, both of a couple years. I'm lucky I have a terrific publisher, BHC Press in Michigan. So they, when I first sent it to them, I said, look, this is America fighting Islam. Are you going to freak out about this? No, it's fine. I'll take it.
That's good. Yeah.
You have to have, again, need publishers with courage, willing to, support the artist. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been able to read the whole novel, but I started reading A Mound Over Hell, and I was really shocked, but in a good way, of like how just very direct you are with your idea, and it's like you don't dodge the difficult stuff. It seems you really delved headlong into the difficult stuff.
I'm not PC, am I?
But you're not rude. I mean,
No.
You're just there. It's obvious that these are characters. You're not, I don't know. It doesn't seem to me that you're making up stereotypes to make things look bad. You're using information that we have about what some cultures do, and you're using that in a futuristic fictional setting. So
yes,
I think
you have to.
Yeah,
I mean, you must. You can't, like you said. Well, you have to like characters, or you dislike them. We don't always agree with what our characters do.
right.
I mean, sometimes we're horrified. Sometimes that doesn't mean that we feel that, but the characters must be what they are. They must act and behave and have a viewpoint of what they are. I think the key, the critical element is whether they're not, as you say, stereotypes, whether they're complicated and you could understand why they feel the way they do. That doesn't excuse it.
No.
That doesn't mean you agree with it, but at least you understand. And that's really, as writers, that's even more important, because as we were saying earlier, because we live in a society where everything is so polarized, where you can't explain why something happened without being taught that, well, you agree with it. Well, no, I'm just trying to understand what human beings.
Sure. Yeah.
That's what we're supposed to do. And as writers, I think we have to show the way to say, well, we're going to be dare. And, but yeah, there's a lot of, I've not been hit by woke yet. I'm hoping never to, but you never know. You never know. I'm going to be very curious, like with a black and white cookie.
Sure.
You know, if people are going to, I mean, in the anti-Semitism in the play comes from two African-Americans, which is going to be, you know, but yet no one's ever said anything. And the director
I'm sure it exists.
Is black. She's black. You know, so no one's ever said, "Oh, are you kidding? What? No," because I do it honestly. Because then I show them as decent people.
Yeah.
And I think if you show why something happens without justifying it, that's important in a play, in a novel, in a movie. You've got to give your reader, your audience, credit for thinking as you say you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You delved into religion a bit, and I thought that was very interesting too, because a lot of times, and this has been a discussion between myself and my publisher, is religion a lot of times doesn't enter into fantasy and science fiction storytelling. And my first novel, it's pretty theological. I delve into different aspects. I play with different religious sects, and I, you know, and not always in the nicest way, well, but I, you know, and it's funny because he said, you know, I'm writing an epic fantasy now, and he was like, you know, maybe just don't get, you know, too religious with this one. And I'm like, yeah, that wasn't really the plan anyway. And it's funny, he mentioned recently, he's like, after the first novel, he's like, well, now that you've gotten that out of your system, you can move on. And I'm like, no, it's not out of my system yet. I got
that advice too. Yeah.
two more ideas around the corner. You know, I do think we need to push the boundaries, ask the questions, get people thinking, and just analyzing our world and not believing everything we think. I love that statement. Don't believe everything you think.
That's right.
And that can really apply to any sort of prejudice, right? Well,
yeah. Well, in this America of the 22nd century, religion is outlawed. Mm-hmm. So I take it to that next step. But I've heard about, you know, you have to avoid religion because it's like a bad thing now. It's just, you know, out of the mainstream, you know, that the groups who decide what should be and shouldn't. If you're too religious, there's something wrong with you. And well, I don't, you know, I don't.
I think that for them, I think it depends on who you're trying to reach and who you want reading your books, right? So for me, it's a very big possibility that a Christian will pick up my book and be very angry at me. That is very possible. So maybe that person just isn't my reader. But I'm not going to not challenge certain beliefs that I think are not necessarily good beliefs or right beliefs, you know, and this is just an example of, I'm not going to stop challenging that because I want to reach more people.
Yeah.
Because there's a word for that, right? It's sellout.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And so it is, of course, a delicate balance. We don't want everybody to hate us, but at the same time, you know, I don't mind reaching a different reader that might be having a hard time finding something that works for them, and maybe mine does. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I believe in faith, but not necessarily faith of a religion, but faith in ourselves and each other, and humans believing in each other. And I think that's the most important thing. And,
Yeah.
right. And touching
Human
each other.
Spirit, compassion.
That's right.
Empathy. Yeah.
I mean, you could label that however you want. You could say that is, comes from God. You're serving God like that, or you're just being a good person, or, you can put whatever label and headline you want. The result is positive.
Yeah.
And I think we need more of that without being, Annie. I'm not saying,
Yeah, we're all going to hold hands.
That's not going to work. But what's wrong with trying to be good?
Yeah, what's wrong with trying to be kind?
Yeah, right. We can't, America is no longer sentimental country. We used to be but with baseball, that's one of the reasons I think that baseball has slipped. Baseball is a sentimental sport.
Sure.
And you've got to get into the history of it and, how it links back to the past and the statistics and the numbers that matter to a baseball fan. It's what I'm not going to throw it at you, but, but things that transcend the generations and interconnect with American history and just the poetry of going to a baseball game and the gorgeous green and, it's like God's front lawn and what or you're the first time your mother took you and you take your child. And it's the special moment, which other sports, and I don't diss other sports, but they don't quite have. But that's a sentimentality, and it's a slowness. It's an old kind of school look at how things used to be, where everything was, you don't have to answer you don't answer your tweet in 7 seconds.
Right.
You're not my friend anymore.
Gosh.
What's wrong with you, right? That's craziness. America's not like that anymore. And I think when you lose your sentimentality, look, I cry at movies.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I tear up. I mean, I'm like terrible. I can't tell you. And I tear up at the same places.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, it's not out of my system. No, it never will be. Right? And we need to tap into that human warmth. We don't have, it's not everything could be condensed into a tweet or a text.
Yeah. And I think, and this, it's okay to be soft. It's okay to be, I'm really floored with there's this, some people are starting to be more open with and caring with their loving feelings. And we see some actors and stuff, two men will hug and show their love for each other. And half the people are going, oh my God, that's so sweet. But you have this other walk of people that are like, oh, that's so gay, get a room, or, just really rude comments about it. When it's just two people being open with their love for each other. And there's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah.
And even if it were gay, why would it bother you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just at that point where
it's
so
love.
what?
Right.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So they're straight, they're gay, whatever. What does it matter as long as there's love?
Yeah.
In the world, and that is divine from the human part. You can debate all you want how it got there, but that is a divine sense.
Sure.
When you pass a child in a carriage on the street and and they smile back at you on the subway.
Oh yeah.
And that's a special moment. Mm-hmm. That's like locked into somehow that just goes into the child's brain.
Yeah.
I believe that.
I believe that. I believe we plant seeds, with our kindness. And we might not see the fruition of those seeds, but it's important that we're planting them anyway.
In a better world.
Yeah. Making a better world. So now I do have a question for you regarding the dark depths. Where did you get this idea? Like, obviously you have a sentimentality for baseball. Are you involved in sports at all, or do you just like them?
No, I'll tell you, with writers, it's so sometimes, we have this oh, well, I was doing this and that. And it was just, and sometimes stuff just pops into our heads.
Yeah.
Right. And when there's no answer.
I know, right? I asked the question and I know what the answer is. It's like, yeah.
My wife and I were having everything bagels with the schmear. A schmear of cream cheese. Schmear of cream cheese for your viewers who don't know what a schmear of cream cheese schmear of cream cheese. Listening to the Beatles on a Sunday morning. Maybe it was the everything bagel, which had a lot of garlic and onions and salt. I don't know, but this popped into my head. A dystopian America, which has lost World War III, baseball's final season, and the country's run by grandma. I thought, well, that's kind of cool, but now I got to write the damn thing. But that's how it is. It's what's so, look, if you weren't a writer, if you were just any person and you went into a therapist's office and you said, yeah, well, I talk to people in my head and I make things up in stories and I wake up in the middle of the night because they told me something and sometimes they don't let me write what I want.
Right.
How many prescriptions would you leave with?
Exactly.
Write a lot of prescriptions, boy. You'd be happy for a long time because it's nuts.
It is. It is crazy.
It is crazy. Who knows how it happens?
Yeah. I mean, coming up with I'm coming up with a language. I created a language, Gary.
Yes, I've got to read one of you. You've got to tell me which of your fantasy novels to start with.
Well, my debut is coming out in a couple weeks. So that will, my first novel will be everybody who wants to read a book of mine. It will be the first one. So and I'm working on a second one and that's where I bring in the other language. I'm
looking forward to reading it. Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much.
But we don't know. Absolutely. But we don't know.
Yeah.
And that's the splendor. And come on,
it's wonderful.
Be honest. What is better than when a scene works? Right?
Gosh. Or, I just, I kept rereading a scene that was just really bad. And it was like, this is not working. I got to rewrite, and I was rewriting it. And then I realized I can just cut this scene.
Yeah, right.
And it was like magic. I'm like, oh, there you go. I don't even have to worry about it anymore. But when you do get a scene that just whatever you're trying to get across, you actually feel like you got it across, because it doesn't always come out the way we want it to.
Wouldn't it be nice if there was some gizmo you could put in your ear and so it would scroll out exactly as you're thinking it?
Yeah.
At that speed. Because by the time you've thought it, it's wait, what?
What?
Wait a minute. What did they just say? Wait,
when you
please say it again.
This wonderful wording, and then you start writing it out, and it was like, well, that wasn't the word that I used, and it's not. It's like, oh, that's close enough. It's not exact, but it's close enough.
No, it's close. Yeah. Yes, that's the wonder. Or when you wake up at 3 a.m. and you think you had a great idea. And you write it down. Next morning, you say, "What?"
or you have a great idea and you go back to sleep. I'll remember it in the morning. Nobody ever does. I don't know one writer that has said, "Oh yeah, I do that all the time." And I wake up and I write the idea down. Every writer I know is like, if I go back to sleep, that idea is going to be gone.
Yes. Well, because I'm extremely neurotic. I write like 8 drafts. And my books are very long, so that's a lot because I believe very strongly in it. But I have, for my most recent novel, FASTBALL Freedom, I have a document of almost 200 pages. Puppy's the main character. Puppy 2 Epic.
Nedic,
because
right?
I was afraid to, Puppy Nedic, because I was afraid to delete them. Because, and sometimes I would say, maybe that wasn't so bad. Where is it?
Yeah. Well, and my novel, when I first wrote it, it was 130,000 words, and I trimmed it down to 108,000 words. But I still have those other 22,000 words set aside, and
for another book, for another novel.
Right. Yeah.
Right. That's going to work. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you
Yes.
always save your ideas. Always. You never know when you're going to need them.
Yeah.
And you might not ever. I don't know. I have, before I had a computer, of course, it was stacks and stacks of paper. I have notebooks everywhere with handwritten notes. I have a box sitting in my garage. My husband keeps telling me I need to go through this box because I haven't touched it for 8 years since we moved into our house, and we've been here for almost 10 years. So it's 9 years in November. I have not touched this box, and it's just full of papers, little scraps. It's crazy, but it's a madness in a way. Absolutely.
It is a madness. It is a madness. Yes. We're not entirely normal. No. But what the hell?
There's a lot of us, so.
Right. We don't do anything wrong to people. We try to make people, we're telling stories around a campfire. We're trying to make people happy and think and give them a distraction. So leave us alone.
We only kill people in our stories.
That's right. Exactly. And that's always the hard thing when you kill a character.
Oh my gosh.
But you have to. It's not cool if you never kill all your main characters. Someone's got to die.
So, can you share without giving spoilers or anything? Can you share a character that you killed off a little bit about how you came to the conclusion to do it and how hard it was? I know how hard it is.
Yes. Well, there's a character, a teenager, Freckly. That was his nickname. His real name was Reuben, and he was in a mound over hell. And he became like, the main character, Puppy-Nita. He was like his big brother. Mm-hmm. And he just got caught in the wrong place, in the wrong spot. And it would have been fake for him to survive.
Yeah.
People, have to die sometimes.
Sure.
It's just life. And
It's a little reflection of reality.
Yes. You don't want, in science fiction, sometimes you could say, well, no one ever really dies in science fiction.
Sure. We can say that religiously. We can say that magically. Science fiction.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So there's a different aspect to your long career of writing, and you are very attached to a huge cult classic, the Sharknado movies.
Yes.
So, let's talk a little bit about Sharknado. My gosh.
Sharknado. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So I was director for many years. I was director of communications publicity at the Sci-Fi Channel. And one of my areas was the Saturday original movies, the B movies.
Yeah.
The Mothman and, all the, the silly, cheap, funny, scary, order pizza and get out the 6-pack.
Make popcorn.
That's right. And just have a good time about it. And most people at the station had very little respect for these movies, even though the ratings were pretty good. And when I would give a report at a meeting, a PR report, most people would be, pretty about rude, whatever.
No, it was obvious. It was obvious that it was important because it was an ongoing thing.
But it was not the expensive original series, for example, or expensive, really, high end, really smart movies or programming. And so Sharknado almost didn't make it to the air. It premiered in early July of 2013. And in June, a series of tornadoes went through the Midwest and actually killed a couple hosts of the Discovery Channel show. I think it was called Tornado Chasers. And so my masters, of which I had many, said, well, I think maybe we should pull it from the schedule. I said, why? I said, I'm starting to get good publicity. Well, we might seem insensitive to do this. I said, wait a second. Okay. Sharknado is about tornadoes in Los Angeles, which has never happened before. Right. Scooping sharks out of the ocean, dumping them on land where they eat people as they swim about.
And a
Why would anyone
hurricane,
think-
which doesn't
and
happen in
hurricane-
California
Yeah.
either.
No, I said, really, there's no connection. So I was warned, well, it better not roll back on us, or it's your, you know what. So as soon as someone says that to me, that's my challenge. Okay, so that's, but I was among very few who had any belief in it. Even Ian Ziering, who admitted that he thought it would end his career, such as it was at the time.
Yeah.
And he had, I'm sorry, he had no, he'd say he had no career left. He had to take the Sharknado lead to keep up his SAG health insurance. So he wouldn't do publicity because he didn't want to be associated with it. He didn't want anyone to know what he was doing. So I had a press call, and I had Tara Reid, and I had the director, Anthony C. Ferranti, and we got some good publicity. Mm-hmm. We got a big spread in the New York Daily News, and I asked the editor, I said, you want a screener? And he said, no, the title's enough. I said, all right. So it
really, yeah,
right. It's a fun
it really is.
So that Thursday night, I'm done. It premieres, and I go to sleep, and I didn't realize that the internet had just blown up that night. That for some reason, and no one ever figured out quite why. It was boring. There was nothing else going on. It was a ridiculous title. It was an insane theme. People were bored, looking for something, but everyone started talking about Sharknado. I mean, Mia Farrow says, "Well, I'm with Philip Roth, and we're watching Sharknado." And the American Red Cross said, if a Sharknado hits, this is what you should do. So the next morning, that Friday, I go to pick up a suitcase from a friend of mine because I was going to Comic-Con. I didn't have a suitable suitcase. And she said, the Today Show just did a segment on Sharknado. I said, what? And they're doing another one. I said, what? She said, you better sit down here. Well, I got in, and I was in publicity a long time. I've never had a day like this.
Wow.
I had to assign people to cover executive interviews. I had to have people go out and bring me food. And I mean, all over the country, all over the world, people were calling. The evening news. Yes. It was and then finally at the end of the day, Nightline called. Someone from Nightline called. We want to do Sharknado. So I was getting a little grumpy.
Right.
There was just a coup in Egypt, a military coup, and you want to cover Sharknado? Are you sure? He said, yeah. Can you set it up? I said, well, okay, fine. And then for the next few years, it didn't stop. No, people didn't know if it could be repeated. Was it just Sharknado? Was it all sharks? And Sci-Fi was throwing out other shark movies, and they went, they're not so good.
Yeah.
But Sharknado 2, which I think is the best one, frankly. I have a cameo in Sharknado 2 and Sharknado 3.
Nice.
Sharknado 2 is set in New York City. Mm-hmm. It has the most soul. By starting with Sharknado 3, there were so many cameos because the same people who roll their eyes at me at the meetings wants to be in the movie. Well, you got to get my people in the movie. What do you
There's your comeuppance.
Yeah, right. So suddenly, John Kennedy said, victory has 1,000 fathers, defeat is an orphan. So I had a lot of fathers. Yeah. So the Sharknado. So Sharknado 2 was set to come out the following July, 2014. But because of different contracts and this and that, we didn't go into production until February. Now, Sharknado is set in the summer. February in New York City is cold.
Oh, yeah.
So to begin with this, kind of cold. So to begin with, in the script, it was Sharknado is supposed to hit Yankee Stadium, and the Yankees would not let us film there. You said, no, you can't, even CGI, you can't destroy Yankee Stadium. Oh. The Mets said, sure, go ahead, trash Citi Field, we don't care. So
that's very interesting.
Yes, very interesting. Two different mindsets, right?
It's just computer generation, guys. We're not really going to destroy Yankee Stadium.
Really, wake up. Don't worry. It's going to be there in 5 minutes. It's going to be right back.
Yeah.
So when we got to shooting, all the extras, they were told to wear their flip-flops and their shorts and t-shirts because it's supposed to be summer. Well, it was 12 degrees and snowing.
Oh my God.
And we had to film. Yeah. And so these poor people, were huddled around space heaters turning blue and everything. And I said, okay, don't worry. We'll spin it that the Sharknado turned the day into winter.
Oh, very good. Very clever.
So that was the Sharknado, and that set Sci-Fi records for original movies, and it was a big hit. And it was just a cult, and it was just fun. It was cheesy, but fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And I watched the first one. I haven't gotten around to the other ones, but I'm definitely going to watch them just because now we've talked and and it's just is absolutely just for fun. There's cheesy one-liners through the whole thing. Every once in a while, it's like, but I love that like little things are squeezed in, of like, there's obviously a nod to Jaws in the first one. It's pretty brief, but it's pretty obvious. I kind of like to think that the chainsaw is a nod to the Evil Dead. Bruce Campbell of the Evil Dead. I'm like, I think, it didn't become his hand or anything, but I'm like, they brought a chainsaw into a B-rated movie with sharks in tornadoes. I think that was an Evil Dead.
Yes. Yes.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So that's always fun. And the one-liners are, they're coming, and they're always going to be. You're always going to giggle, even though they're absurd. It's so much fun. They're fun, and we need that. We need that sometimes, right? Some mindless little giggles.
Just to step out of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was pretty impressed with the props and stuff. It was quite.
Considering the budget wasn't much, yeah.
Yeah.
Budget was probably like $27, so it was.
Yeah. What can you do with $27?
Well, yeah, they can do like watch Sharknado 2.
Yeah.
Because I think you'll like
Yes,
that.
I will. I'll watch Sharknado 2 and 3. And the funny thing is that all those eye rolls, there are now 6 Sharknado movies, plus a 7th documentary called Feeding Frenzy. So it's like, that's 7 movies for this one little movie that almost didn't get on the air.
See? There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what are you working on now?
Well, I'm working on the final novel of the trilogy, and I'm writing a new play.
Oh, great. Can you tell us about it? Or
it doesn't.
Yeah, I know.
Play, it's hard.
Yeah.
Because, I could tell the plot, but I don't even know in my head if I've come up with it yet.
Right.
It's in my head, but I don't know if I've come up with the log line. So I'm just going to let it, and you know what it's like. Things change.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you can't always.
Play, you have a shorter, you're talking 90, I don't know how many words, but a whole lot less. So you're talking maybe 85 pages.
Oh.
So it's 90 pages. So it's a lot less.
Yeah. Well, it's great. And I watched a little YouTube video of yours, and I think it was you were promoting your hardback. So was it a Baseball for Freedom that got in a Fastball for Freedom that got just released a hardback?
Yes.
A version of it, and you were talking about yoga in the video.
Yes. Well, yeah, because it's a 500-page novel in hardcover. Yeah. So I want people to know that if you're going to spend that kind of money, you're going to spend money on that. It has many purposes, so you could use it as a yoga block.
Yeah, you were using it for
or triceps,
biceps and triceps,
or biceps. Yeah, you can do a lot of. Or you're in the movies and you're stuck behind someone really tall. Put it under your butt. There you go. Elevate yourself. I mean, there's a lot. You got to be fun. You know what it's like. You got to have fun nowadays. You can't take it too seriously.
No, you can't. No. So do you practice yoga yourself, or was?
Yes.
Okay, I kind of had a feeling. I was like, he's really bending down and touching his toes. I think.
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah, I can. Yeah, I can touch my toes. Yes, without having to bend my knees really. So yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a yoga therapist. I used to own a yoga studio for a decade, and so I always get excited to meet fellow yogis.
Yeah. It's been 2009 is when I started. So 12 years.
Oh wow. That's
I studied martial arts before, and then there was a point where I just got tired of hitting and being hit.
Yes.
And I always wanted yoga, and it's just I go to the studio. It's open again.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. So I go to like maybe 4 times a week.
Oh, very good. Very nice.
Yeah.
Taking care of yourself.
You've got to, and there's something special about yoga.
There really is. Yeah.
Yes.
It gets you in touch with something beyond yourself.
Yes, exactly. And
balancing mind and body.
Yes. And I'm sure you heard it a million times when people say, "Oh, I couldn't be able to do it." And you just tell them, "Well, you do what you can do."
That is, yeah, that's the beautiful thing about yoga. It meets you where you are.
Yes, exactly. You and I do different things. So what? We're different people.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great.
With our egos. Yes.
Oh yeah. It's about not killing the ego, because we need it, but balancing the ego.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
Well, thank you, Gary. This is great. Is there anything else that you want to share with us?
No, this has been wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
All your posse out there.
There you go.
And good luck on your novel. I'm looking forward to reading it.
Thank you. You too. So it's Fastball for Freedom is out now. Mound Over Hell has been out for a while.
Yeah.
Those are the
Amazon,
books
Barnes & Noble, wherever. Yeah. You're the usual suspects.
Yeah. All right. And we'll look forward to seeing your play.
Yes. If you're in Washington, Maryland, please, Silver Spring Stage, October 1st through 3rd.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. I much appreciate you being here. So
thank you. Take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Namaste. Bye-bye.
Namaste.
If you enjoyed this episode of Titles, Talk, and Tipples, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Namaste.